And the UVA, I mean, that's much maligned, isn't it? We think about skin damage and DNA damage, and we don't think about how actually it does have its important functions as well. You do need to get the UV through the eyes unfiltered. So, you need it coming in through going to your brain, and it's going to stimulate the release of those neurotransmitters like the dopamine, serotonin, endorphins. The serotonin is a key one in relationship with melatonin, because it converts to melatonin later. So when you make more serotonin in the daytime, because you're getting more sunlight, you are building up stores to make more melatonin at night. And that's a great way of improving your sleep. You can improve your sleep by getting more sun. It's helping to balance out other hormones and sex hormones, and having the contact on the skin as well. There's all these immune modulating chemicals that are released. I'm definitely not going to be reading all this stuff out I've got in my notes, but the thing is, it's having an important action on the skin to help your skin become more tolerant to the environment, as well, of course, building up your natural skin sun protection mechanisms. And this nitric oxide, you can actually make nitric oxide in the skin, which is then absorbed. And you might have heard about nitric oxide being a vasodilator. So it will increase your blood flow, reduce blood pressure. What is less well known, it's got functions for the brain as well. So, and actually COVID, there's a link, because we know that vitamin D is super important to have good levels and, help give you a robust immunity and protection against infectious diseases. But there's something else about sunlight. That has independent functions of vitamin D, because when there is and actually this talk that I can send out by this doctor will go through all of this research that is just mentioned on this slide here. They found that the places getting the most sun exposure, were getting less COVID. But when they looked at winter times, when there was UVA exposure, but not UVB, because that's not entering the atmosphere, the people getting the most UVA exposure, or sunlight exposure rather, were having lower COVID mortality rates as well. So they were wondering what's going on, what else is in sunlight that's doing this. It's not vitamin D, they're not getting vitamin D. Nitric oxide was proposed, and this has been found to limit the viral replication. And because infrared radiation is such a large part of the solar spectrum, this is probably a really important part as well. In doing that, having the antioxidant effect is also upregulating viral defense mechanisms as well. And supplements have been used for COVID treatment, and they might be of some benefit going into the circulation, but they will not go into the mitochondria. The only way to do that is to get that sun exposure. It's all about the balance. If you were just exposed to lots of UV without the infrared, that's where or the red light as well, that's where you'll be getting issues. And this is the problem with having a lot of sunlight through windows. Actually, I do have it, yeah. So the fact that glass blocks a lot of the red light, all of the UVB, the UVA comes through. So if that's how you're getting your sunlight, that you're going to be getting more damage. So we know the UV is really important to have in the right amounts, but you also want to minimize the UVA damage. And that is going to be done by having like a gradual, consistent, cumulative exposure over time, like small amounts, building up your skin's tolerance. The issue occurs with melanoma what is happening is people are spending a lot of time indoors, and then they're going out and getting way too much sun in one go, and getting sunburn, and that is the problem. It's not the day in, day out sun exposure, which in fact there's a whole lot of research indicating that cancer is lower rates of cancer are associated with having more sun exposure in general, but it's that kind of working outdoors, having that chronic exposure, like day in, day out exposure, when you build up the tolerance, not just having sunburn. I'm really happy to send out some of the research reviews on this so you can read more for yourself. UV radiation recommendation. So this is just you can look something like this up and find your skin type, and you're getting a rough idea of how much sun you could tolerate. And clearly it's all about finding out what works for you. So these are some suggestions. I hope people can see the smaller writing, but the basics are: expose yourself to morning light quite soon after waking up, and that's for the circadian rhythm regulation primarily. And just through the day, get out, and that's where you'll be getting your regenerating red light to balance out the other the UV exposure and also the indoor blue light exposure. So some basics of how to build up sun exposure. This is probably more relevant for summer. At the moment, just going outside, the UV index isn't high enough to be too problematic. When you're inside, you can open your windows, and then when it's nighttime, protect your eyes from that blue light, which is going to inhibit the melatonin being released. So blue blocking glasses, blue blocking software, and dimming the lights, and using maybe having more orangey coloured bulbs would help. Okay. Okay, earthing. So this is another way we have lost connection with nature. It's the fact that we're always insulated from the earth. Unless you're walking barefoot, or unless you're sleeping on the earth, which mostly we're not doing. We've been in buildings, and this is having a big impact on our health. There is a lot of research is now accumulating on how this works, and the basis of it is that the surface of the earth is negatively charged, where the upper atmosphere is positively charged. And this this is demonstrated with like lightning strikes, which is a discharge of this electrical voltage. And considering there's thunderstorms happening around the globe, thousands at any one time, this is keeps renewing this positive charge and the negative charge, and so this supply of electrons is like limitless. And when you connect with this, that's called earthing, with your bare skin. And how it's proposed to work is that because we are conductive, the human body is mainly water, minerals, just like the earth, we are actually able to absorb these free electrons. And how electron transfers are the basis of how antioxidants work. So you see in the diagram in the corner that a free radical is an unstable molecule that has an unpaired electron. So when it comes in contact with your cells and tissues, and it steals an electron, that's how it's creating the damage. And an antioxidant would come along and donate an electron to neutralize the free radical, and then the antioxidant would be regenerated. If we're thinking about all these mechanisms in our body, we generate our own antioxidants. Of course, we eat them as well. But another source of antioxidants is from the earth. It's this sea of free electrons you can just go and absorb. And this is thought to be the way it reduces the inflammation. So in studies where this is an image, a thermal image of 30 minutes before, 30 minutes of earthing before and after, and there's a massive difference in the heat coming off these knees. And it's not just arthritis, but inflammation is linked to just about every chronic degenerative disease. So there's really nothing that earthing isn't good for, quite frankly. This is a nice picture from a research review. And it's just basically summing up all of these effects. It may be a little bit fuzzy to read, and I've just added a little bit more along the side just to detail. But it's in general just balancing body systems and rhythms. You know, if you're thinking about reducing inflammation and pain in general, energy, you know, improving energy production, regulating hormones, enhancing immunity, it's, you know, the circulation enhancing effect, it's normalizing our nervous system, shifting it into the rest and digest state, which can be actually measured if we're measuring the vagus nerve activity and heart rate variability. So these are measurable effects. So it's not just we feel good, we know we feel good, but actually you can measure the effects as well. And the cortisol, you know, which you want in appropriate amounts, you know, comes down to improved sleep and lower stress. A little bit more of the demonstrations of the wonders of earthing. This non-healing wounds that this lady had for 8 months. So this is a research paper just summing up the effects on immune and wound healing, and they proposed this is how it's working. So you can see it's really what I've said is that the electrons are being taken up into the tissues and then neutralizing those free radicals so that injury can finally resolve. Otherwise, it's just this vicious cycle going round and round. And the practicalities of earthing, you can earth anywhere it's a conductive surface. So grass, soil, sand, gravel, concrete, you know, it's not going to come through wood, rubber, or anything synthetic. And when you're on wet surfaces or in water, that's an even better conductor. And, you know, for people who want to get supplemental earthing and they can't be as outsiders as much as they would like, you can even get sheets to sleep on and mats to put your feet on, and they are just plugged into a wall socket, a properly grounded wall socket.